Creepy mountain man. I was 17 at the time and I had just gotten my first job. I lived in rural Western Virginia in a small mountain community. My mom's friend owned a camping resort not far from my house that had a general store, and she said she'd pay me to help out in the store during the busy months in the summer.
That's nice.
It was a pretty easy job, and I met a lot of out-of-towners, which was nice because our community could get so isolated. Most of us lived pretty far away from each other. One day, a big burly mountain man type came into the store. He was in his late 40s / early 50s, probably 6'5" and about 280 pounds. He looked dirty, like he worked outside a lot. His clothes were sort of tattered and he had a long beard. He bought some basic items, one of which was one of our homemade bars of soap. When he came to the register, he looked me up and down carefully. He didn't talk for a minute, just stared. His people skills clearly needed work. Here's a conversation that they ended up having.
Oh no.
Did you make this soap? He asked gruffly. Possibly, I said. I help out with that sometimes. You make a lot of your own stuff? Toiletries and things like that, yeah. I like that, he said, nodding to himself. I honestly did not know how to respond.
Yeah. How do you respond to that?
I don't know.
Thank you? I don't know.
Thanks, I guess. I quickly rang up his items and he paid with crumpled money. Right before he left, he asked, "You cook too?" "Sometimes," I replied. "Bet the boys around here are itching to marry you," he said as he smiled to himself.
Oh, so it's a female that's at the counter. Okay, I was wondering like.
Oh, you thought it was a male?
I didn't know.
I don't know. I could just tell that this was.
Really?
I could tell that this was a woman. Yeah, I don't know. I could just tell. I said nothing. I was puzzled as to what I said that stood out as wife material. I told Krista, mom's friend / boss, about the bizarre encounter, and she laughed it off. So did my family and friends. But then, Mountain Man started turning up more often.
Boy.
We chatted a little bit here and there, and I found out he had a cabin in the woods. He claimed he built with his bare hands. He said he hunted and lived off the land, other than the things he bought at the store. Over time, our chatter escalated, with him making comments about how nice it would be to have a woman like me around who can make those things and cook his kills. One time, he even said I had the birthing hips that men lust after. Shudder. This is the start of a scary movie.
Do you see my face? This is on some I will kidnap you and make you my wife type behavior.
Yeah, basically. This is the type of people you have to literally note.
Yeah.
Like noted. Like, you know how
every time I see if I was that person, every time I saw him coming around, I would go hide.
Yeah, like
in the bathroom.
Yeah, like you got to limit your interactions with these types of people. Especially after a comment like that, birthing hip. You know?
But first of all, off the first comment, it was on some, yeah, you need to go, buddy.
He even started inviting me to fish with him, hunt with him, see his place, etc. And I always politely declined. But he got more and more insistent, and I told Krista about how uncomfortable he was starting to make me. The intensity with which he said those things really scared me. She said that when he came in, go get her, and she would ring him up. Thanks to her, I started speaking to him less, and I thought I wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. But one night, I was closing up, and it was late, around 10 at night. Krista had left about an hour before, and I was leaving by myself. The only two cars in front of the store were an old blue pickup and mine. I was immediately alarmed because I knew Mountain Man drove a blue pickup.
Boy.
But I didn't see him in the lot, just his car. So I walked quickly to my car and checked the back seat before I started her up. You know, a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't check the back seat. That used to be a thing back in the day. Like, people would break into your car and just lay low. In the back seat, you'd get in, and then they just, you're at their mercy.
Yeah, literally.
She checked the back seat. Yo, a lot of people don't check their back seat.
Back seat. I do that. When I go places by myself and I feel like a little weary, I'd be like...
You check the back seat?
Yeah.
That's smart. But then, when I first turned the key into the ignition, I got nothing but sputters. Of course. Of course. It's when you need it the most.
Boy.
Shit like that happens when you need it the most. I tried several more times and got scared quickly. Of all nights, why is this happening tonight? I remember asking myself angrily, just as I was reaching for my phone to call for help. There was a loud pounding on the driver's side window. I'm shocked that I didn't piss myself. I didn't even want to look because I knew it was him, but I did, and my suspicions were confirmed. He smiled a big grin at me, showing me exactly which teeth were missing.
Oh boy.
Need some help? He said loudly through the window. I shook my head furiously.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Not the mm-mm.
My dad is on his way, I said, hoping to scare him off. I hadn't spoken to my dad in years.
Oh shit.
Oh shit. She pulling out the deep lies.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm not with this right now. I cannot have you believe that I am here by myself and I will allow you to help me. No.
Mountain Man laughed. No, he's not.
Oh
He said, open the door. Oh shit. The hairs on my neck stood up straight. How did he know I was bluffing? Yo, that's dark. That's some scary shit.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's how you know somebody's a professional criminal.
I'm not gonna lie.
He laughed before he said that.
I feel like he was.
I don't mean to laugh.
I feel like he was just listening in on like conversations and shit. I feel like he was just on some like really creepy stalker shit. Whenever she didn't work, like he'd just hang out there, like or just like just I don't know, like paid someone to find info or something. You never
Nowadays,
know.
it's probably not that fucking hard to like
Well,
once you
I don't know
find
how
out
long
somebody's
ago was the
name
story.
and where they work and where they live, like you can just start Googling them on Facebook and you can kind of, if the person's like kind of public, like you could kind of start to build an image of their life. If you really want to stalk somebody, you know?
That's true.
He said, no, he's not. Open the door.
Boy.
The hairs on my neck stood straight up. How did he know I was bluffing? No, I said firmly. Leave me alone. Suddenly, he looked angry. He pulled the handle, but I had locked all the doors when I first got in.
Good.
She checked the back seat and locked the
doors. That's what I'm saying. She's smart.
She's on timing with it. He kept furiously pulling the handle and started pounding on the window. Leave now or I'm calling the cops, I screamed at him. He clearly wasn't getting the message, so I pulled out my phone and called 911. I must have sounded hysterical to the dispatcher, and I knew she can hear him pounding. She said she would have officers out ASAP. But out here, that could be a while. The cops are on their way. Leave now, I screamed at Mountain Man, who didn't seem to let it deter him. But after a few more minutes of pounding, he suddenly stopped and walked back to his truck. I watched him go, hopeful he would leave me alone.
Oh my goodness.
But
no,
then,
he didn't.
But then he started walking back towards me with a fucking crowbar in his hand.
You know what's smart?
What?
Like if she kind of peeped and tried to see if his car was on, and then just ran to his car and just
drove off in that shit.
With his car.
Yo, that's gangsters. Drive that shit straight to the police precinct. But then he started walking back toward me with a fucking crowbar in his hand. No, I screamed at him. Get the F away from me. He started swinging at the driver's side window with the crowbar. I ducked down into the passenger seat on the floor and covered the back of my neck like they teach you in tornado drills. I heard the sickening crack of the window, but not for long. Suddenly, I heard male voices shouting, telling Mountain Man to get away from the car. I sat up and saw two men approaching, one with a shotgun pointed at Mountain Man. Damn, the Avengers assembled. I recognized them as a couple of guests staying at the resort for a camping trip. I breathed a sigh of relief and got out of the car, telling them that the police were on the way. I thanked them profusely as we waited for the police, and surprisingly, Mountain Man didn't make any moves to get away. But the cops came pretty quickly after that, so he didn't have much of a chance. They took him away and I gave them my statement. I was pretty shaken up for a while afterwards. A few weeks later, I finally got the scoop on the man. Apparently, he had a history of mental illness. He had been in and out of state institutions. He really had been living in an old cabin in the woods where he wasn't taking his meds. They found a journal that Mountain Man kept. Apparently, in it, he said he was lonely and wanted a wife. He mentioned me by name a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Stupid name tag, she puts. And Luke, I'm assuming that that's one of her coworkers, said that there were a lot of lewd things in there about me that he didn't want to share. But tried to put it simply by saying that Mountain Man had a detailed plan to abduct me.
I told you. I knew it.
Starting with sabotaging my car engine to get me into a vulnerable position.
Boy.
When Luke said that, I nearly burst into tears, thinking about how horribly that night could have gone if those two men hadn't come along.
Yep.
Thankfully, he has been put back into a state institution. With any luck, he'll stay there for good. Mountain Man, let's not meet again.
Please.
Oh man, that's dramatic.
Do you see? So now you understand how traumatic it can be to be a female, because it can escalate very quickly.
Thankfully, she's okay.
Yeah.
Like we said before, all the stories are linked in the description down below. If you guys enjoyed this episode, like the video. If you have any stories that you want to share with us, that you want us to read up here, just send it to the email that's linked in the description box down below. And until next time,